All right, welcome back to Bet Haven, the safe place for safe plays. We are back for week 3 of the official Bet Haven video series on YouTube, where we give out projections for, our favorite plays for golf. I keep saying "our" again because we are going to have a guest on the show today, and it's somebody who I plan on having on the show going forward. So last week we gave out 4 plays. You could throw Mackenzie Hughes in there and count it as 5. I did say that I mostly liked him because I knew he was trying to qualify for the Masters, and I expected him to do well, solely because of that. Mackenzie Hughes finishes T13 or T14, along with Tom Hoagie. So, in order from most confident to least confident, I gave out Tom Hoagie, Steven Yeager, Thomas Detry, and Jonathan Vegas. And the order of finish was Tom Hoagie T14. Yeager won the tournament, so I was less confident in him than I was in Hoagie, but I still liked him. So Detry T2. So right there, you've got a first, a T2, and a T14 in 3 out of 4 guys that we gave out. Vegas struggled Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then just went bananas on Sunday. I actually didn't even know that he was playing that well until I looked at one of my open tickets on FanDuel and saw that they were giving a positive cash out for Jonathan for a 3-leg ticket for top 20, and it had Vegas on it. And I was like, why would that be positive right now? So I went to the leaderboard and saw he was like 5 under through 8, maybe. I don't know. He was on fire, and unfortunately I didn't cash that out because I thought maybe he had a chance, but he ends up finishing T36, which I did have him in a top 40 parlay. It was that was a nice little payout, and that was the main ticket that hit for me this weekend on the golf. So, we're right where we need to be. And I told you guys that I would be giving out plays that I expected to kind of plug and play. I'm going to give you a list of names, and then you can utilize those names how you want to. And that's the same thing that we're going to do this week. I mean, I will be playing. Um, I'm going to give out one person in particular that I'm really liking this week. And we're gonna bring Chandler on the show as well, and him and I are gonna have a live discussion. I have no idea who he's interested in this week, but he had a great weekend, and I'll let him speak more to that. But um, you know, this is gonna be the same sort of process going forward. Next week I'll probably get a little bit more specific and probably try to hone in on some outrights for the Masters, just because it's the Masters, and I think that it's a little bit easier to do that for that field and for that event because not everybody can win that tournament. Um, and again, we'll talk a little bit more about that as we approach it. I'm just really satisfied with where we are. 2 weeks in a row, I gave out the Mackenzie Hughes for the Valspar. He finishes T3. I gave out 4 guys, with the worst finish being a T36 last week, and then a first, a T2, and a T14. If you guys are taking these names and plugging them into top 20, top 30, whatever parlays, you're making money, and I know that because I'm doing it and I'm making money. So hopefully you guys are taking some of this advice. Again, it's not financial advice, it's none of that, but there is a methodology to being profitable in the sports betting world. And especially when it comes to golf, you can't just be betting on outright winners every single week and expect to succeed that way. So again, just take all of this with a grain of salt. Take it for what it's worth. If you already have somebody that you're liking, and then we mention them, maybe that's your sign to go a little heavier on them. But really, again, really satisfied with where we are, and I want to keep pushing forward. So let's get Chandler in here, and we're gonna have this discussion for the Valero Open this week. All right, we got Chandler in here. First appearance on the Bet Haven channel. Original founding member of Bet Haven as well. So I'm gonna let
Yep.
him. I'm gonna let him get into how last week went for him at the Houston Open, and then we'll talk about some of the plays that both him and I like for this week.
Yeah, man, happy to be here. So last week we had a good week, like a really good week. Hit the law office of more and more right out the gate, which was nice. Top 40.
Your first
Taylor Moore.
your first golf
Taylor Moore.
video.
Yeah, I mean Taylor Moore like was in contention the whole week.
All weekend.
Had a ticket on him too, but it's all good. He got us a first round leader. Wilson Furr kind of cut my ticket in half there, unfortunately, but still $177, which was good. Um, but yeah, plus 250 on Ryan Moore. Taylor Moore was nice, top 40. And had a ticket on Jägermeister, which was nice. He closed it out. Scotty just could not quite do it, which I love because I had no Scotty, not on DraftKings, not on no tickets, no top fives, nothing. Um, and then yeah, the big ticket of the week. So Jaeger was a nice one. It's like 460, I think.
Right.
But the big one was DraftKings lineups. Max entering a $3. Um, make sure you guys are max entering everything. If it's single entry, if it's 20 max, 150, I don't care. Max enter. Don't put yourself behind the eight ball right out the gate. So max enter $3, $60 total, and ended up being like $1,100, and had a $1,000 hit on a lineup, which was good. And was actually winning first was 6 grand going into the weekend. Fell down a little bit, came back as Tony Finau had a good Sunday, which was nice to see. But yeah, man, overall great week. Looking forward to this week, and obviously really looking forward to the Masters too.
It's funny that you had no Scotty because in the video I did last week, I was just, I don't know how to get to Scotty at, plus 230, or, he opened at plus 300 and then he dropped down. I mean, that the fact that people are betting him at plus 300, 3 to 1, I mean, that is just absurd. And I saw somebody talking about, this is still nothing compared to what Tiger was back in the day, but it's still, I just don't know how you find the room or even the gall to bet Scotty outright at anything less than 3 to 1,
Yeah, it's
especially.
getting it's getting hard to as a bettor to convince yourself that that's the way to go. It's so much easier to, find holes in his game or find somebody else you think is going to have a good week. It's a lot easier that way.
It's more fun. It's more
DraftKings,
fun too. You can find these
yeah,
guys that are like 50, 60, especially because, looking even throughout the beginning of the season, it's like the long shots are winning. That's just what's happening. The long
I
shots
mean, I
are,
think I
are
had Jaeger was 46, 50
yeah,
somewhere in there.
yeah. And
So
even, other tournaments outside, Dunlap, and I know those are kind of outliers. Dunlap, Grayson Murray, those kind of guys, these are guys that are not anywhere remotely close to, these 20 to 1 and 10 to 1, and they're still winning. So it's like if you're gonna chase the winner, chase it at a plus, 6,000 guy versus a plus 300.
which brings me to another thing is I want to talk about is I hate the bet without Scotty market. I feel like that's just a waste of your money. Like either you need to bet Scotty or you need to take a really good number with him in
It's
play.
just reduced odds at that point, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just not to me. It's just not a good bet unless
Yeah.
if you think that he could win, then just go ahead and take him. Take him at 5 or 6 or whatever the one it's going to be. But I think you're kind of hurting your number on the back end if you decide to go with Jaeger or whoever, and you're just cutting your number from 50 to 25, 30, whatever it is. Just doesn't make much sense to me. But I will say that Scotty, you can get to Scotty on DraftKings just because the way they've adjusted the pricing, down to 5,000 for the cheaper guys now. It's doable. You can get there. Even last week we saw. I mean, there was guys. Nick Dunlap was in contention, and he was like 5'8", I think.
Yeah.
So you can do it, but you just
Well,
I
I
don't
don't.
like the outright market on him right now.
The prices for DraftKings for the Masters are already out, and they didn't do that apparently. I
Okay.
haven't dug into it too much, but it is like that for the Valero this week. But for the Masters, they're kind of back to
Yeah,
the
it could be
format
just
they had before.
more big names. It's probably hard to justify throwing Scotty up there at
Yeah.
12,000 or
Well,
whatever
and
if you've got so many big names.
odds are out too, so I'm assuming he's got to be 10 to 1 at the very most, right?
Yeah, I think I saw 9-1.
Yeah. All
So
right. Well, I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about Scotty next week. 9 to 1 is a little bit more enticing, obviously, and especially at a place like that. But we'll get to that next week. I want to talk about Valero. I have a feeling that you're gonna have some crossover from the guys you had last week, to
yeah,
this week. So let's go ahead and just open it up. Um, what what was the squad that you had, the DraftKings? It finished fifth place or third place?
I think it was fifth, and it was Taylor Moore, Finau, Jaeger, Akshay, Hoagie, and Sammy Ryder.
Sam
Um,
Ryder.
yeah, Sam Ryder was the one that kind of just didn't quite get the wheels turning in the right direction. He did a little bit on the final day. I think he shot a couple under, which actually, I mean, definitely helped me get to where I got to.
Right.
But the main one that helped me was Finau. Finau had a tough, I believe it was Saturday. I think he went off on Friday, tough Saturday, and then had a really good Sunday. I actually missed a 2.5 footer that they did not show on TV because at the time he wasn't in contention, but he missed a 2.5 footer, I think, on 16, which ended up being the difference between him getting into a playoff and not getting into a playoff, which is wild. But he was right there, but he was the big reason I got up there. And then
Well,
Akshay, who I can go ahead and jump into, Akshay is another bet for me already. I've already placed the outright ticket on Akshay. I'm a sucker for this guy. Obviously, some ties, knew him when he was younger, and I've
right.
seen him play for a long, long time. But I mean, you go through the numbers through the tournament, and obviously I've watched a ton of them. I had a big ticket on him this past week, but gained 2 shots on approach. He actually, surprisingly, to a lot of people's probably surprises, he actually gained a little bit putting. Which, if you watched him, it looked like he lost 4 shots putting, but he didn't. He gained a half shot putting, which is surprising. But I mean, the main thing you love to see is the irons. The irons are still there. He's striping it. He can get hot. The putter can get a little bit hotter for sure, but the iron game is there. He was fourth in short scan on approach last week. It's good enough for me to go back. I don't need to see much to to place another ticket on him. So
Yeah.
I'll be going back to the well there.
Well, and if you look at his results from this year, it's like either missed cut or top 20, and there's no in between.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
almost
his game.
positive
He
that's
can.
like that's what it is. Like if he made the cut this season, and I'm gonna pull it up real quick. I don't know if you've got it open in front of you, but his results. Let's see. He's played 9 events, miscut or top. Yeah, he's got when he makes the cut, he's T11, T17, T13, T13, T14, or miscut. I don't know how that is possible to do that, but that like shows a super boom or super bust golfer.
Definitely a streaky golfer and probably a good top 20 bet, honestly. Like if you're going to place a bet on Akshay, maybe don't go outright, maybe just go top 20. But he definitely can get it going. And yeah, if the course fit is bad, also he can fall off quickly. He needs the course to be a little bit longer, and he needs his irons to really be a factor. And yeah, I wish he would get in the Masters because I love betting lefties. Look at
Mm-hmm.
lefty's history of the Masters. I think he could do really good at the Masters, and he'd be at a monster number. He's gonna probably have to win this week to make that happen, but never know.
I mean, so the reason I like so I'm kind of off of him, but the reason I feel like he is still a good bet is because I watched an interview with him where he kind of talked about he went into a little bit of slump. He won I think he won the Barracuda if I remember correctly, and I don't remember if that was last year or 2022, but he hasn't really done a ton as far as contending. But I watched an interview with him on a podcast, and he basically talked about how he started to try and fit his game to like every other player, which is if he's a certain yardage out, if it's a stock yardage for a club, then that's the club he started to hit. Where he is more comfortable is when he's shaping shots and he's holding it against the wind, letting it fall with the wind, and I think that going into this week, TPC San Antonio. One of the course's biggest defenses is wind, and obviously he likes playing in the
He
wind
loves
and
it.
prefers
Yeah,
that. So like why not go back to him for that? And
yeah.
I
He
say I'm
he
off of
wants it
him.
harder.
I say I'm off of him. I'm not exactly off of him. I'll probably throw him in, sprinkle him in 1 or 2 tickets on top 20. But for the players and the cognizant, I had him everywhere. I had him DraftKings. I had him FanDuel. I had all of these places, and he let me down like 2 weeks in a row. And it's really hard for me to like get so back into him. Even
Yeah,
last week,
that's
I
that's that's the way with all these guys. Yeah, you
yeah.
bet a guy a couple weeks in a row, he burns you, and then you're just like, all right, screw it, I'm done.
Højgaard. I mean, Højgaard could absolutely dominate a course like this, with the length and everything, and I just refused to do it because he burned me so many times, especially now. Um, but yeah, I like Akshay. I think that it's not a safe pick, but it's a good pick. It's a pick that makes sense. And who knows? Yeah, he absolutely, obviously, like I said, he won the Barracuda, which is a different formatted event, but it still shows proof of concept and the ability to win. Very
Yep.
interesting little thing about this tournament though is 5 of the 8 last winners were first time victors on the tour. So are we gonna find someone, and you could kind of throw Akshay into that bucket. He hasn't won, the typical format tournament. So maybe, maybe he's looking for that. I don't know. But there's a lot of guys that are playing well and deserve wins and look like they can get it done. One in particular that I know everyone and their mother is going to be on is Ludwig.
Yeah,
You got any
yeah.
thoughts on Ludwig?
There's nothing to hate about his game. I actually got to see him in person, and he saw him in Greensboro, and he was playing with JT Poston, and the guy, it's fairway every single time, and it's deep. I mean, the sound the ball makes when he hits is it's different than any other guy. I mean, he was
Right.
playing with Poston, who's obviously a great golfer in his own right, and every time he hit that driver, it was just like, whoa, what was that? He can freaking rip it. He actually didn't even play that good when I watched him, but he he's gonna get a win, and this absolutely could be it.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like I wouldn't bet or I wouldn't put him on DraftKings because I don't see him getting the dub here. It's gonna happen. It honestly is, but it's gonna be a week where everybody is finally off of him. And it's just sort of that narrative play. Like I feel like I don't know what his ownership's gonna look like. I haven't looked at projected ownerships or anything like that, but I have to imagine. I think he's the second or third most expensive player on the board for DraftKings. I just can't do it. I feel like the ownership is not going to be prudent to a successful week, especially when you can find kind of pieces around at much lower ownership. One guy that I'm looking at, and it makes absolutely no sense considering what he's done, is Tommy Fleetwood. Um, he, I think he's only played like 8 events this year, but his Tommy Fleetwood, when you think about him, is like approach and irons, and I think he's lost strokes on approach, and like I don't know if it's every event this year, but it's pretty darn close. And okay, he's only played 5 events. He's missed one cut, and that was at the Arnold Palmer. And I don't know if you remember the Arnold Palmer, but that was the tournament. I don't remember which round it was, but he got a 10. He got a 10 on like the par five that Bryson tried to drive the green. Um,
That'll hurt.
yeah, I'm pretty sure he hit the water twice on that one. But outside of that miscut, T35 at the Players, T10 at Genesis, T31 at Pebble Beach, and T47 at Century. And Century is just I don't know. It's like I see 70, 70, 69, 70. That's pretty flat. Rounds as far as the scores he's putting up. But the Genesis was an elevated event. It's a tough event. It's an event that it's like hard to hit greens, and that's kind of the similar pattern that you're going to see this week. I think they say that this is, and there are course comparisons, but I will say this about TPC San Antonio in my research that I found: this is the first course that I've seen on the course fit data model that doesn't have a course comparison that's in the 90 percentile. The closest matching court or course is where they play Shriners. What is that? In Vegas. That's I don't remember what course that is, but it's like 85% match, and so you kind of have to like you can't really compare any of these other tracks uh, to San Antonio, and it's gonna be harder to be like, oh, this guy plays well here, so obviously it's gonna fit a little bit better for his game here, and it's like I think that there is a comparison, still with the 85%, but it's a little bit harder to find that, that other course that you see these guys compete at and do well at and be like, okay, this is definitely going to translate.
What do we
Like
have here? We got a par 72, 7,400
it's like, yeah, it's almost
distance.
7,400 yards. Let's see, I can pull it up real quick.
Okay. I mean, we're getting the par fives back, so par five scoring is going to matter a little bit. Where last week they only had 3 par fives. Um, something to keep in mind there.
74.38 is as far as yardage goes.
Okay.
Got one, two,
So I mean, fairly
three.
long. I
Yeah,
mean, that's
four
that's
four par
that's pretty
fives.
long. 4 par fives. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's a long course, but it's not ridiculously long. I think length will definitely help. So I would definitely put that in your custom model if you're building, add a little bit of distance in there.
I agree with you, but at the same time, I mean, look at like your guys that are doing even last season. Corey Connors won. Corey Connors is not like a stripe the ball off the tee guy. I mean, he- he's a good ball
You could,
striker because he keeps it in the fairway for the most part, and his
yeah,
irons. Corey Connors an approach guy. Kuchar
yeah.
last year, T3.
He definitely
Kuchar's
loves this course too. I don't know what
yeah.
it is about this course in Connors. It just matches.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Chris Kirk, Padre Harrington, like these guys that finished up there, Ches Reavie, they're not bombers, but you do see almost everybody mention the length of this course, and it's like, okay, well, why are we not seeing, the rest of the courses that they refer to as Bombers Paradise kind of show a similar pattern of finishes here, and that that's some of that's hit or miss in outlier situations. But JJ Spawn won the year before Corey Connors and Matt Kuchar again. Oh my gosh, so Kuchar in 23 T3, Kuchar in 22 T2. Just as I'm going through past results here, I'm like, why does Matt Kuchar like this course so
So
much?
this is Kuchar and Corey Connors' favorite course.
Okay, Kuchar T12 and 21. What's happening here? Am I just gonna hop on Matt Kuchar? No, I'm not gonna do that actually. I think Matt Kuchar,
You start your lineup, Kuchar Connors.
yeah, on a 70 almost 7,500 yard course. I
Yeah.
mean, it just sounds ridiculous, but apparently the
Well, one
results.
yeah, I mean, one thing you could do, and I would recommend everybody, is when you're building lineups, almost build that way. Like if you think that distance is really going to matter, you could build a distance lineup. You could go, Cam Davis, Scotty Scheffler, Jake Knapp, whatever. Or if you think, maybe not going to matter so much, well, then you go Ryan Moore, JJ Spawn, whatever. You can kind of build your lineups that way. And, maybe one thing ends up mattering more than another, and you can kind of have it all line up for you.
Yeah. Um. All right. Well, so is Akshay your guy this week? Because I'll talk about mine, and I've got a lot of stats here to support this person. So
Yeah, I mean, why not Akshay? He's gained on approach several weeks in a row here now. He's so close. He doesn't seem disappointed by his honestly his second nine. I mean, he was right there. His second nine was not great.
yep.
If you go down every single round, he is gaining on approach, and his putting is just kind of neutral or slightly gaining. I mean, the game is there. He definitely wants to make the Masters. Um, yeah, Akshay could be my guy.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I don't hate that, and I think he absolutely does have the ability to win this tournament. It'd be funny if he did win a tournament that has Rory and Ludwig and so who are these
But I
other
almost
guys at
don't.
the top there?
I almost don't think it matters. I mean, because like you said, he's such boomer bust that his first win could be the Masters or the U.S.
True.
Open or something, and it would not shock me at all. Or not his first one, his second one. Sorry, but it wouldn't shock me at all if he won a giant event like that, just because that's how his game is kind of shaped.
Right. All right. Well,
So
my
who's your guy?
my guy this week is Eric Cole.
Okay,
Eric Cole is 8 for 11 on cuts made this season, and I'm forgiving two of them because one of them is the
one of them
players.
jumps out to me. Yeah,
But to me, it's like the players is such a different type of event. Um,
that's not even the one that jumps out to me. It's the other one because
Cognizant.
I was on him. Yeah,
Yeah. So same situation though because it's water. I think you run into more trouble in those two events, especially in what we've seen so far this season, than you're going to here. There's only 4 holes on this course that have water on them at all, and I don't even think all of the water is in play from that aspect. Um, his last event was the Valspar. He finished. What did he finish there? Let's see. T33. And I'm not in love. I don't know if I'm gonna have an outright ticket on him. Right now, I do have him already on a top 20. He gained or he lost 1.7 strokes off the tee, and I'm in looking at that. You're like, okay, well, this is a course where off the tee is kind of a big deal, and getting yourself in position to score on these greens. The distance was not the issue. If you look at the off the tee stuff for him, the accuracy was the issue. this rough at TPC in San Antonio is like 2 inches tall. It's not a penal rough. I don't see a lot of guys that are missing off the tee having trouble. Once they hit their tee shot, I don't see them getting into a lot of trouble. He finished ninth in distance at Valspar. So off the tee, trouble at Valspar, where he finished T33. I think he could have finished higher. Came from the lack of accuracy. He hit 46% of fairways off the tee. So I think that's where a lot of the struggles came in. I did expect him to do a little bit better there. And again, if you look outside of those, the miscut at Cognizant and Players, the only other miscut was Farmers. We know what Farmers is. Farmers can be tough. It's Torrey Pines. I mean,
Yep.
that's just what it is. Again,
Hmm.
Pinot rough there. So, you got a T14, a T13, a T21, a T14, a T10, a T21, and again, the T10 was at Genesis, elevated event. He's not scared of a bigger moment, and kind of leading into the Masters here. I think these guys are kind of buckling down. You would think that some of these bigger players that are in this tournament are kind of just here as a tune-up or whatever. I think everybody that's in this tournament is like, I want to win so that I know I can win before I get to the Masters next week. Um,
Hmm.
like I said, off the tee he lost strokes. Not too concerned about that. He gained 5.3 strokes on approach at Valspar. He gained 1.8 around the greens. He lost 2 strokes putting. Putting is like super hit or miss. Obviously, I don't
Yep.
see him having it. That's you can see a guy lose 2 strokes one week and gain 8 the next week. I mean, that's just what it is. I'm not sold on bad putters when they have a bad week, or just bad putting in general. That doesn't make or break a guy for me, especially because he ranks like 36th in putting overall. So if he's losing 2 strokes in a tournament,
Well,
but he
especially if he misses the cut, it's only on 2 rounds. So you know, for
right,
two
but
days he didn't putt great.
yeah. But this was also for Valspar, which he finished T33. So that's a full round or a full tournament where he lost 2 strokes putting. I just don't see him doing that again. And that was not last week, but the week before. So obviously he's had some time to digest that, and he's probably fixed it. At least that's my hope. He's only played here one time, T39 in 2023. I looked at the stat profile and from from 2023 to this year, and he's gained like in every category. He's improved. So the fact that he's T39 last year, I think that I think we're good to go here. And again, the off the tee stuff, he lost off the tee at Valspar when he appeared here in 2023. He gained 2.3 strokes off the tee and 1.4 strokes putting. So again, you're kind of looking back for are we regressing towards the mean or are we regressing away from it? And I think that seeing what he's done here before, it's going to be back towards. And another kind of to mention that the distance thing versus the accuracy thing at TPC San Antonio. His accuracy was less than it was at Valspar. He hit 46% of fairways off the tee at Valspar. He hit 39% of fairways here last year. So it's like he still finished T39, hitting less fairways than he did at Valspar, where he finished T33. I think he just has a chance to do something here. And he's never won on tour. He's got like 2 runner-ups that he had last year. He's got plenty of top tens. He's a guy that it can be there. And like I said, I'm looking for proof of concept for these guys a lot of the time. But I think at a place that has a history of breakthrough victories, this is a perfect opportunity for him to do that.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, he's a streaky golfer who honestly has been pretty good other than those couple of events. I remember the Cognizant just because I think everybody was on him that week. He had success last year at that event,
Mm-hmm.
so everybody was like, "Oh, well, this is layup for him. He loves this course." Um, but yeah, I could see it. I'm trying to find, is Gary Woodland in the field this week or not? Because he had a shockingly good uh, tournament. Honestly, his stats are really jumping out at me, but I don't know if he's in the field this week.
I don't actually know. I don't remember seeing him on DraftKings because I feel like he would have been in that like 7K price range. Woodlands. That's probably the easiest. I'll just search that real quick. Um, he's not in the
Not
field.
seeing him.
Yeah, he's not in the field.
Yeah. All right. Well, then let's go with one sneaky guy before I get out of here. We got Chandler Phillips.
Ah,
Great name. First off,
good mustache.
great mustache. He's back-to-back cuts made now. He was T3 at the Valspar, and he was T45 last week. Closed really nicely. I find my stats. He see final round. Chandler Phillips.
I actually know a lot about Chandler Phillips. I don't know
So
a
he
lot
was
about him, but I watched him a lot because I was sweating the Mackenzie Hughes stuff, and they kept showing him because he was right there the entire time.
Yep. So Chandler Phillips, he closed great in the tournament. He was third on stroke gain approach in round 4, lost a stroke and a half putting. He's a Texas guy too. Uh, I think if you're looking for a long shot or if you're looking for somebody down the board in your DraftKings lineup, I think Chandler Phillips could be the guy. So I'm
What
gonna give him a shot.
what's his
We'll see.
price?
That's a great question.
I can pull it up. I've got a sleeper as well, and I'll look for Phillips while I talk about that. So Chandler Phillips 6K on DraftKings.
I mean, that's pretty good for a Texas guy who's
Yeah.
made 2 cuts in a row. Honestly, I think he's made 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of 8 cuts. I mean, I think it's perfectly reasonable.
All right. Well, in a similar price range, at 6,500 on DK, my long shot for, you know, I wouldn't call it an outright or anything like that. Definitely top 20. I would say he could probably squeak into the top 10. It's going to be Max Gracerman. Max Gracerman is on kind of a hot streak. Finished T7 last week at the Houston Open, T33 at the Valspar, T15 at Puerto Rico, T47 at Cognizant. He's, the last 4 events, you're looking at a top 10, a top 20, and a top 35. Well, that's what we'll call it. Course history. I found a Corn Ferry event that was played here in 2020. Notable finishes from that tournament from guys in the field. Davis Riley finished first. Davis Riley, I'm sure some people will be on actually. Taylor Pendrith,
Yeah, they will be. He had a good week,
yeah,
stats wise. I mean, he was
exactly,
right there,
yeah.
out
Taylor,
of nowhere too.
well, and he was good on the Corn Ferry Tour, so I think maybe he's got some potential here, but I'm not on him. But just I'll get down to this to Max, but T2 Taylor Pendrith, another guy that had a better week than he's been having for a season. He finished like T36 last week. Ben Coles is in the field. Don't care about him. Lee Hodges, he's actually got some decent finishes recently, but whatever. And then T18 Max Gracerman. I mean, obviously he's got some history involved with the course. I think last year, what did he do here last year? Results tournament. I want to say he played well here last year. He hasn't played here in the PGA. So he's got the 2020 finish for the Corn Ferry event where he finished T18, but he doesn't have any PGA history here. T33 at Valspar, so comfortability in Texas at least we can say that. And the Houston Open also T7. So yeah, he's got some. Where did he go to college? He went to Duke. So zero ties to Texas, but obviously
Chandler Phillips went to Texas A&M.
I do like. Yeah, there's a couple guys in the field that are like Texas affiliated, from a school standpoint or, just living there, growing up there, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But Gracerman, I just like where his game's at. I mean, he's one of those guys that their stat profile, when you look at it and they give you that image on PGA Tour, they give you like that web chart. It's just very balanced, and I think that for a guy that's 6,500, you don't want someone that's like super heavy on putting or super heavy on scrambling around the greens or whatever it is. You want someone that's got a balanced kind of game, especially with good form, and that's kind of what I'm looking at for Gracerman.
What's his price on DraftKings?
6,500.
65. Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking at his numbers, and yeah, it's fairly balanced. He gained about a half a shot on off the tee, lost a quarter of a shot on approach, gained a shot around the greens, and gained 1.3 putting. So fairly balanced. His main was putting and around the green, but
That's
a lot of
that's
the
that's
guys at the
useful
top
here. I
were
mean,
honestly,
yeah,
yeah, a lot of the guys at the top they putted well and they chipped well.
yeah.
That was part of what you needed.
I will have him on my DraftKings. I'm gonna have a couple teams, but my biggest entry will have Gracerman just because I don't know what the ownership's gonna look like. I can't imagine it's gonna be. I don't feel like a bunch of guys are looking at a Corn Ferry event from 4 years ago to kind of decide who can do what here. But I will definitely have him, and I'll probably have him some top 20 tickets as well.
Yeah, I will have top 20 on Chandler Phillips.
You gonna put him together with Akshay?
Think I'll probably leave it alone. I got to look at the number, but I'm not sure what it would be. But I got a feeling Chandler Phillips would be a decent number, so I might just leave it solo.
All right, you got anybody else you want to talk about?
That's it for me, man. I will mention. Obviously, I was on More and More last week. Ryan Moore is still hitting the ball like fine. There
Yeah,
is no reason to duck him and think that this run is over. I mean, he is still hitting the ball good. Um, so I might go back to him on DraftKings. I wouldn't be surprised if I do. But that's about it, man, for me.
so I just want to look at more real quick because I remember seeing. Let's see what. Yeah, he's kind of gone on a run here, like randomly. His start of his season was miscut, 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 T60, miscut, and now he's T45 at the Players, T5 Valspar, T31 Houston Open.
And he loves these little events. Like he's a good guy to have in these lesser field events. He is very consistent, typically a good putter, and he's kind of riding some good irons right now. I think he was 11th in the field last week on strokes gained approach. Actually lost half a shot putting, which is probably pretty unusual for him.
Right.
Neutral around the green, neutral off the tee. If we're going with the distance doesn't matter as much as people think narrative, I think he's a great play.
Yeah. Yeah, his approach is like off the chart basically. So,
He's playing above his normal for sure on approach, and when guys get like that, you got to ride them until they're done,
yeah.
especially at a good number.
Well, the putter sucks, but maybe it can pop this week. And
It
if
could.
he
He's typically a good putter, so
well, if he's
yeah,
doing what he's doing without it, then it kind of shows that if it does pop, it's gonna be even better than what we've seen. So.
absolutely.
All right, well, that's it for Valero. I think next week we'll probably hone in a little bit harder on some guys, but just being that it's the Masters. I don't really talk about a bunch of outright stuff. I haven't been in these videos, and we really didn't today. I mean, we did touch on people that we think can win, but I think next week
Yeah, I don't.
we'll.
I don't necessarily have a big favorite that I like. I mean, Rory's tough to get to. Morikawa has been terrible. Aberg
So
hasn't
bad.
won. So it's I think for me it's kind of hard to find that top guy that you can actually trust, and so that's why I think part of the reason we didn't talk about it. I'd rather throw a dart at Akshay or Chandler Phillips or Ryan Moore as top 20 bets than find. I'm sure I'll get to somebody, but for now I just have not found anything I'm absolutely in love with at the top of the board.
Yeah, no, I think next week we'll probably it'll be a little bit easier. Just knowing that it's the Masters and that's what we'll be looking at. So until then, I guess just keep an eye out on social media for the stuff that we put out. I'm gonna be putting some tickets up on Twitter and things like that. And then I don't know if you've been posting anything on your own, but the Instagram page is a good place for that. We're at the Bet Haven on everything. Make sure you like and subscribe this video here on YouTube. And again, just going forward, just keep looking out for the stuff we put out. We've had really good weeks. Chandler, before you came in
Yeah.
here, I talked about being on Mackenzie Hughes, and then the finishes. I don't even know if you know this, but the finishes from the guys that I put out last week are first T2, T2, T14.
Yeah, no, we've been on the heater. We're giving out good information here, and hopefully the people can win off it too.
All right, that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next time. We appreciate you watching, and make sure you follow on everything at the Bet Haven. We'll see you next time.